Being a third generation from a family where people had served in the uniform, army, army, and army. That was the only thing that was always in the mind and in the heart. And thus, I joined Indian Army as an officer when I grew up after my college. Having served for over 21 years in the military career, I have taken premature and now I am playing my second innings. The best years of my life I had given to this organization, and during my journey in the last 2 decades, I have learned the best lessons of the leadership and the life lessons, which I've learned from my Jawans to the highest senior ranking officers. And today when I've moved out and I'm playing my second innings, I had a chance to interact with many people who are into business world. And I realized, now when I look at the things from my perspective and I see this, I see there is a sea change. But at the same time, I also see there are some important parallels. If taken into a positive note, will yield better results into the business world. When I interacted with the people, I realized that when most of the people, they are relying more on the posters for their marketing. I think you need to put in more work into your client and the people who are looking up to you. They can be the brand and the best brand ambassadors. Posters are not good enough. Number 2, when I look at them, they are always talking about the figures, the numbers. I always rely upon people. While they are interested in figures, I am always more interested into people. That is my keynote. So today I am here to discuss and share few perspectives and lessons of leadership and management, which I had firm belief because I learned during my military career. And leaving a food for thought to raise few questions for the business world, if they can take some conclusion out of it, and maybe it is going to help them to move from good to great. Jai Hind everyone, I am Colonel Rajeev. I am a retired Army officer, a veteran from Indian Army. I got commissioned into OTA and got commissioned into 5th Battalion, the 1st Gorkha Rifles. Thereafter, I also had served on deputation to Assam Rifles, have served in both J&K and Northeast. Maximum duration of my career, I have been into counter-insurgency and counter-terrorism operations. I had also had an opportunity to serve overseas as a part of the UN peacekeeping forces. And after completing my basic tenure, I had a command of Specialized Airborne Regiment, and today I am playing my second innings. Okay, moving ahead, I'll come to the first lesson, leadership and management. In the business world, very often we confuse both the things. Business world, how they look, they think both are the same thing. No, it is not. Management, as the name suggests, is about managing things. When it comes to the managers, I have seen them when they are dealing with the people and their target, they talk only in the terms of deadlines, they talk in the terms of targets, they are ensuring that the budgets are upheld in the manner it is done. People are the last priority. But when it comes to leadership, you lead, and for leading, you require to understand and handle men. That is not an easy thing. Leadership is not easy. Managing things is quite easy. Leadership demands a lot of things. There is a difference. Both are very, very different things. I'm damn sure of one thing. Having served in the military as a leader, whenever it came to men, all their problems were my problems. All their mistakes were my mistakes. I'm damn clear on this. And this is something which corporate world, they need to learn, and more than learning, they need to implement in practice. To connect dots, I will give you an example from my life. While I was in command, there is a place which I would say a God-forbidden zone, where it is said that even the God and devils, they don't visit rarely. That is the kind of the place I was staying. High altitude, temperature dipping down to minus 38. When I moved my battalion there was a situation when you had to enter inside my unit location. There was only one bridge which was connecting our location to the main streamline. So this bridge was the only lifeline. And there was a moment when I had a serious observation. I knew that it is a very old wooden bridge and it is going to collapse anytime. And as much as I thought, it happened one day. But before that, in the past 6 months, I have been highlighting this issue to the higher authorities, especially to the staff officers, that we should take preventive action before I land up in that situation. But now, typical in the staff officer, couple of them who had a managerial attitude and they were trying to manage things only because it was not in their priority list. They were more in the reactive mode while I was trying to be in the preventive mode. They were managing things and they managed it successfully. They ignored, they delayed. And the end result, we lost the only lifeline. Imagine a situation where half my troops, vehicles, equipment are on the other side of the river, which was very, very furious that time. Even for the basic supplies of water, the ration, weapon, people going on leave, which was my command responsibility, came to a freezing halt. It was a great challenge for me. Initial first 2-3 days, we were self-sustaining on whatever we were left with. After that, when I asked the reason, it was told to me, sir, in summers we had not been able to do because the flow of the water was very high. The water level is very high. And winters, I was told, sir, the binding properties go low. So cement will not be very effective. Now, only 2 seasons were there, either winters or summers. So I said, good. People are trying to manage things. Finally, then I took the owner's responsibility in my hand. I spoke to my troops, my men, my JCOs and my officers. I explained the situation to them and I told them, God help those who help themselves. And this is the task at hand and we are going to do it anyways. Believe you me, 1,000+ men, a tremendous workforce. But when you think from the leadership point of view, the task has to be done, it has to be done. I explained things to them with that sheer muscle power. We had thrown big boulders into that river, we had placed CGI sheets and we had changed the course of the water to some level. Thereafter, I said, I want cement, I want every raw material which we require to construct this part of the bridge. I don't know how you're going to manage. You beg, borrow, steal, but I want it. It was produced on ground. It took us first 48 hours to change the course of the water, which was in very furious state that time. And after changing this, we started constructing it. We put more CGI sheet and thereafter we had created a container kind of spare. Thereafter, we had used everything possible which was within our reach. It was coal, it was wood, it was other material which can put fire on. And we ensured in those -30-degree temperature, we were able to maintain +18 temperature inside that container so that the cement, it gets binded properly. It took 30 days. 24/7 boys were on the duty there to ensure that fire should be on. But after 24 hours into 30 days, it was a miracle what we boys had done. We had removed everything and then there was the day when we wanted to try. So I took my vehicle and the first vehicle, I was the guy who moved across that bridge and we could restore the lifeline back to our happiness. Now, 3 things I see here as the lessons important, which I would like to correlate in the corporate world also, in the business world. Number 1, passing merely orders is not good enough. One need to get involved. What I see, because there are a lot of students whom I'm training today, and when I see their interaction, with their hierarchy, it's a sorry state of affairs. When I see and look at them, everybody is trying to palm off responsibility. You need to get involved. Merely giving orders is not good enough. Number 1, when you actually want to accomplish something for yourself, for your team, for your organization, there are only 2 options. Dying is no option at all. There are only 2 options. Number 1 option is do it. And the second option is do it. That's it. There is no third option. Lesson number 2. Lesson number 2 is mission matters. They say in army, your job is not to try your best. The job is to get the things done. And when it comes to task and the job, trying only is not an option. There are no excuses for failure. In fact, in simpler words, if I want to put, I'll say failure is not an option only. If the task has been given, it has to be done at any cost. Once task given or assigned, thereafter, whether it is the time, whether it is manpower or the resources, nothing counts. It is only the end result that matters. This is how a military commander, he looks upon things. The best example which comes to my mind, everyone who is watching this must have seen movie Kesari. A gallant story of 21 Sikh soldiers, Khalsas, fighting a damn ferocious battle against 10,000 intruders Afghanis. What better example one can think of? Just imagine, comprehend the figures. 21 Sikhs soldiers versus 10,000 intruders. Not an easy thing. That is called mission and the purpose and the orientation. This is how one should do it. This is one. On the lighter side, if we want to give you an example, look at the politicians. Lack of people sitting in front of them. But they also have a purpose. And the purpose is to win the elections. If they don't have purpose, they will never be able to deliver what they deliver on the stage. They will not be able to gather and comprehend that kind of huge audience. So when it comes to mission, it is damn important. Now in the corporate world, what they need to understand from this and learn from the army, what I think is, in army, the mission, it rolls out from two things. Number one is task and second is purpose. When I look at the corporate world, I see when I interact with working professionals who are taking training under my wings, when I interact with them, most of them, they are doing job because it has been assigned to them. There is a difference. A job being done because it has been assigned to you and you have to meet certain stipulated deadlines. And the second is voluntarily grabbing that job. There are two different things. This is one observation. Second, that purpose is missing. The purpose, when I look at the working professional, they tell me, sir, I have to complete the project within this deadline. Sir, the project is bound by this. I have to meet these deadlines. Very simple. The intent is not very clear. They are simply doing the job because it has been given to them. In army, a mission, it flows out from the mission of the commander's intent. If I talk about Kargil, when a commander speaks, he will only say, I want 0.5353 by 26 January, 0600 hours. And thereafter, it is reverse engineering. No briefing instruction thereafter. He just want, he want. That is the, intensity when it comes to the purpose. Now, I give one example from my life this time. There is a famous competition known as Cambrian Patrol. 2008, I was the company commander those days. I was major. Our unit, initial competition when we participated, came third among the 3 units in a brigade. Few of them could not complete 30-kilometer run also. That time I had put in about 8 years of service. I came back from Assam Rifle Deputation. I asked for the volunteers, gathered my team. I created a team from zero. Volunteers were also not many because it was a tough competition. It involves too much of running, very physical thing. The boys need to learn so many things. It included firing, swimming, navigation, running, endurance, tactical exercise, and a lot of things. The most difficult competition, championship. And then levels were too many. First, you pitch yourself at the brigade level, followed in the subsequent chain, division, command, corps, then command, and then finally the army championship, where the best of the teams come to participate. Now, when I started, I was competing against people, and the team who were participating were the best teams from the country, the third largest standing army. But when I created a team, I wanted 10 guys, but I created a team of 30. I had given them a purpose. The team which finally emerged as a winner finally goes to Wales and London to represent not only the Indian Army, but also the nation. And they are pitched against the best of the Special Forces team in that competition. Now, day one, I could have told my boys, yes, we are going to win the brigade level or the corps level or command level. No, and not even once I remember I had ever told them. I had given them a purpose. I had given them a purpose, and the purpose I had given them, intention was, we are going to London. Hereafter, anybody speaks less than this is going to be done. I'll do away with you. So that was the purpose given to them, the intention, going to Wales to represent the country and the Indian Army. And I'm so happy thereafter I know what we had done. It was a complete 1-year exercise, a lot of things gone under the bridge. The guys were Gorkha troops, absolutely non-swimmers. We used to go to local canals, local ponds to initially develop that skill and make good swimmers who can swim across the canal with complete battle load. The endurance level was taken to a level where we were supposed to run 40 kilometers, but we used to go with 35.3 kgs battle load, and we used to run more than 100 kilometers. That was the level of the endurance we had achieved. And finally, when we pitched at the competition, we had beaten the unit which was going for the last 2 years to represent the country and the nation. And we emerged as the Army Championship. So, 2 lessons, important lessons for the corporate and for the business world. When you give a task, it should not merely be a task, There has to be a purpose in that. When you give a purpose and a people function better as a team. When intention is there, that काम करने का जो जज्बा होता है आपका, जो जुनून है, वो किसी अलग लेवल पे होता है. But we don't give a purpose, simply give a task, it will only remain as a task. That is one. Second thing, one need to get again involved along with the intention. When you speak, you need to prove to them that you are highly capable of leading by example. I always told my troops, मैं कोई भी वो काम जो मैं खुद नहीं कर सकता है, मुझे में काबिलियत नहीं, मैं आपको कभी नहीं बताऊंगा. और जो मैं खुद कर सकता हूँ, वो कुछ भी हो जाएगा, मैं आपसे करवा के छोड़ूंगा. team leaders, rather than just assigning their jobs as managers, they need to take a step forward and get involved with their team at different stages. जब आप ऐसे काम करेंगे, काम करने का नजरिया भी बदलेगा, नज़ारे भी बदलेंगे. Now the third point which I would like to touch upon is honesty versus intelligence. When it comes to army, the screening procedure, the basic bottom baseline is you always screen the fittest for the finest organization. This is how you look upon. For one vacancy, there are 25, 30,000 people who come. Imagine the kind of the screening that is done. And this screening goes for at least 1 year in case of Jawans and for almost half a year in case of officers. That is the screening procedure, when you select people for the organization. And मैं हमेशा कहता हूँ स्टूडेंट्स को, ऑनेस्टी, ईमानदारी और इंटेलिजेंस दोनों अलग चीजें हैं. गिवन मी ए पर्सनल चॉइस, आई विल ऑलवेज गो फॉर ए मैन हु इज ऑनेस्ट. क्यों? रीजन बड़ा सिंपल सा है. मेहनत करके आप एक ईमानदार आदमी को इंटेलिजेंट बना सकते हैं, लेकिन कितने भी जोर लगा लीजिए, एक इंटेलिजेंट आदमी को ऑनेस्ट बना देंगे, उसकी गारंटी नहीं है. Now, when I look at army, it is full of examples. You look at the PVC awardees, you look at various awardees in various operations, whether it is Kargil 1971 or during operations which are going in RR, normal day course. Young Jawans, officers, barely any age, 18 years, 21 years, they have set the highest standard of the gallant actions and they inspire generations thereafter. These guys have been so honest. They had not signed any contract to lay down their life on paper officially with the government of India or with the organization. But it is that oath. When at the time of the POP, जब आप वो oath लेते हैं, जहां आपको बताया जाता है कि मैं हवा, समुद्र या पानी के रास्ते से जहां भेजा जाएगा, खुशी खुशी जाऊंगा, और अगर कभी जरूरत पड़ी तो अपने प्राणों की आहुति हंसते हंसते बिना सोचे समझे दे दूंगा. And people live up to that code of conduct and ethos. That is called honesty. People are so damn honest with themselves, toward the organization, toward the task and the duties. I have seen people, even in the face of the death, they refuse to quit. And when I look at the corporate, they just need a reason. Even if they are getting a simple hike, people don't mind giving resignation. They leave the job. They switch over. Army people, they don't switch over. They stay back. They hold on. And they deliver. If things are bad, they improve upon that thing. But they still work toward the organizational growth. Now, when I look overall in this gambit, there are two important lessons, which I think it is high time business world, they should look into it. Number one, the screening procedure. If people are looking and being recruited only based on the degrees and the intelligence quotient, I think it is high time. They need to review this thing. You should have something more, whether it is psychological aspect or some screening procedure, where you put aside these degrees and on ground do the validation of the individual so that they stay longer. You create that kind of environment. Number two, important thing, it is not only about the candidates. A lot come to the organization. It is about the ethos and the environment. To have that kind of screening in and the better candidate to work for the betterment of the organization, who are going to take the business world and your corporate or whatever organization from good to great, you need to create that kind of environment. Now look at the Jawan of Indian Army. What do you think? What is the education level? The base education level at the time of the screening is 8th pass for tradesmen. And otherwise it is 10th and 12th standard. Very high? No, of course not. For us, average is good. We make best out of the average also. The intake level to this great organization is 10th and 12th pass Jawan. But only reason because that he is honest. And we and the organization work upon those candidates. तो उसका इंटेलिजेंस लेवल इस लेवल पे लेके आती है फौज कि वो बंदा जो 10वीं और 12वीं पास है, he is made and trained in a manner that they become highly capable. They are the guys who are handling tanks, gun, artilleries, any kind of sophisticated signal equipment, and so much more. They are the people who are representing not only the country but the nation in the UN peacekeeping forces, missions as a brand ambassadors. Look at their conduct. How many times you hear the bad things about them? No. Look at them, the way they carry themselves. They're bearing. They can beat anybody blue and black. Even the best of the guys with the best brand will feel that he is not looking as smart as the 10th class spy. So, मैं बार बार कहता हूँ, मेहनत करके एक honest आदमी को intelligent बनाया जा सकता है. Indian Army is a great example in itself. But how many from the business world can give me an example? Sir, we had taken an intelligent guy and he has been very honest toward the organization. No, very rare. When you look at the employees, it is damn important to create that kind of ethos and working environment culture where voluntarily and willingly the employees, they put their heart and soul toward the growth of the organization. If we don't do so, and if you treat employees like replaceable items, believe me, the day is not very far off when the greatest of the resignation is waiting at your doorstep. This is highly avoidable. At the same time, this is highly achievable. Another important lesson and takeaway for the business world is know your men. Each man, in fact, the last man counts. When it comes to industry, any kind of industry, be it army, be it the business world, or any damn thing, the most important resource, the most important weapon, the most important tool is the men and the employee, the workforce. Any organization, be it army or the business world or any organization, is as good and great as its men and employees. I'm very clear on this. In army, you must have seen people wearing tracksuits. In tracksuits, there is a name written on the front, on your chest. For example, take my case, it says Rajeev Bharwan. But when you look at the chest, on the back side, there is a name of the unit, Paltan, that is written. I always used to tell my men, but what is written on the chest is damn irrelevant to me. मेरे लिए कोई मायने नहीं रखता. Rajeev Bharwan does not exist in scheme of things. But what is written on my back, that is the name of the unit, 5th Battalion, 1st Gorkhas, or the unit I commanded. This force, that matters. When it comes to the organization, it caters for everyone automatically. From the youngest soldier to the highest man. The guy who is standing on the door in the corporate world in the big building to the CEO, everyone is part of that organization. If you can have this kind of mindset and this kind of thought process, it is going to bring a great change, When we work on this concept, it is all about us and we. There is no room for I. I is irrelevant. We is important. Now for this, a greater accountability comes to the man who is holding the chair. Because the respect, mera manna hai, it does not come with the appointment or the rank. One need to work hard for it. I give you an example. There was a company commander who walked up to me seeking leave sanction for a Jawan. Orders were very clear from my side. Leave is not a privilege. It is their right and it is my duty and I'm damn good with my duty. Give it a shot. These were my orders. And I was surprised when a company commander walked up to me. Maybe he wanted to show me or tell me sir, how involved I am about the welfare of the troops. I said, why you want to go on chutti? He said, sir, he did not tell me. But go and ask. He came back. He said, sir, he's going for mother's operation. No, operation for what? He said, sir, he did not tell me. I go and check. He came for the second time. He said, sir, appendicitis operation. Is this for the first time or it happened earlier also? He said, sir, he did not tell me. No, you did not ask. He said, sir, I'll just find out. He came back. He said, sir, it had happened earlier also. This is the second operation she is undergoing. Okay, good. Now, who else is there? Once his chutti gets over, who is going to take care of the old lady? He said, sir, he did not tell. Then he stopped. He said, sir, I did not ask. I will go and find out. Go. Now, this exercise continued for almost 20 times. I kept on asking questions. He was going back, getting the details, getting back. 20 times. I said, chutti khatam hone ke baad kaun sambhalega? He said, sir, brother, what he is doing? Sir, he is in army. Which unit? Sir, this unit. When he is going to come on leave? Has the leave has been sanctioned? Have you offered him, he can get mother here in the unit? We will cater for the accommodation. We will also give him a suitable, duty where he can do his professional job as well as he can look after his mother. Medical facilities are also at the doorstep. We also have a doctor in the unit. Have you given these things to him? Offered? He said, no, sir. Please do so. After 20 repeated exercise, I ensured that I trained my officer well. He treated a man the way he's supposed to be. When you have that empathy, the bond, it connects. And I explained to him, Joker, tomorrow when he comes from chutti, else, agar nahi sikhata, to aapne sirf haath mila ke puchna tha, chutti kaisi rahi. Now you are in a position you can look deep into eyes and that connection will go to the heart. And you can ask him with confidence, aapki mummy kaisi hai? Aapki mother ka operation kaisa hua? Have your brother come on chutti? And what do you have planned? Are you getting your mother to the station? We'll look after her. Imagine the kind of the bonding. And this guy, he will always think, I'm sold to my company commander. And he takes damn interest in me. Your mere speaking and showing that kind of involvement makes a lot of difference. I will give you 2 examples to prove what I just said. There are 2 working professionals who were part of my course about a month back. I was surprised to know that they both have been working in Delhi in a company and they both are working in the same department for the past 2 years and they never met each other. What an irony. When I look back in my career, when I was commanding, I had 1,200 men plus with me in my command who served with me. And I precisely knew the name, the details, what course they had done and details about their family and their personal particulars, everything. This is how I have been trained by my seniors. This is what organization teaches you. Imagine the kind of the involvement it would demand. To remember details about 1200 men precisely. A great deal. You need to put in some effort. On the contrary, two youngsters with the best of the gadget in their hand, and they claimed that they had never met while working in the same. Pure classical example of working in the watertight compartments. It will never get better results. It will never move toward the organizational growth. Very poor show. This is highly required. This is absolutely missing. There is a great vacuum I have seen. People are just trying to exercise their authority. They're just demanding things. I'm the manager, I had given you some task, you have not done it. But the personal involvement and that empathy is a huge void. It needs to be plugged in, believe me. From this context, I will derive two lessons, two major takeaways. Number one, the social interaction. As everyone knows, man is a social animal, but we need to live by these words. Just merely reading it and leaving it is not the solution. When I look at the corporate world, sometimes it amuses me and I smile and it pains also. When it comes to social interaction, people are just only waiting for the weekends. They are going to have fun Friday, fun Saturday or fun Sunday. I don't know how much fun they have, but definitely they are always looking forward to the weekends to live their life. A sorry state of affairs. I never imagined I had to wait for some particular moment or day, to celebrate. Every day was, even in the jungles, it was great fun. We were living and social interaction was there in the toughest of the situation. So high time, please don't restrict the environment to have proper HR workshop or some fun activities on the weekends. There is more scope for improvement to have better social interaction on a day-to-day routine, mundane basis. Lesson number 2. There is a very prudent requirement to maintain a balance between the trade skill sets and the soft power. Take example of an army officer or a Jawan. When it comes to the trade skill set, it involves the physical and mental robustness, the preparedness for the war, and learning the professional things. When it comes to the soft skill power, that is about knowing your men, having empathy toward them. When you do so, when you put yourself into the shoes of the last man, you can actually feel the situation, the commitments, the problems, the situation he is going to handle. And when you do so, it actually connects you very well as a team. But this thing is very missing. I see when a working professional and they complain, people are being rude, they don't talk, there is hardly any social interaction. Wherever I see them, they talk only business. Ladies and gentlemen, whosoever is watching it and who is working in the corporate, please take a halt. Think for a moment. Life is not a business, Life is all about people, emotions. There is so much attached to it. If you can connect to the last man in your team, believe me, you will rise and shine as a good commander, as a good manager. You will be in a great position. Your efficiency will enhance multifolds. And you will see you will have a great team where you will have an everlasting bond. Come whatever may be the situation, but they will always stand by you. In army, you see, people know the war is on. The bullets are coming. They are flying all around. But still, in that utmost blind faith, even the last man, he follows the commander. And he says, sir, I'm coming. Nobody is bothered about themselves when the toughest situation comes. The only person he is concerned about, the man on the front, the man at the back, the man on the right, and the man on the left. That should be the concept. अपने बारे में तो हर इंसान सोचता है. But if you're in some position, I think, command, in whatever position, it is all about service. It is not about the perks and privileges. But most of the people, they think from that point of view. Perk, privileges. If you're senior, you are supposed to do more. So please do more. Audits and assessment. For personal growth, even if it is about one individual, I also do my own audit every day. I make a to-do list. These are the things I need to accomplish on a daily basis. And before I retire to bed, I do my self-audit, whether I have been able to achieve that or not. It is very essential for personal growth as well as for the professional growth. And every organization, be it the corporate, the business world or the army, they also have their own system in place. They work on the appraisal system. But when it comes to army, let me tell you, army leaders are not assessed based on their individual potential capability. No. They are assessed based on the performance of their team. And now this is what lesson business world need to strongly incorporate. Working purely for the appraisal system, that means individualistic approach. But when it comes to team, there will be better engagement, there will be more goal-oriented, it will be better competitive environment, and you will get definitely better results. For example, in army, when I was the commanding officer, how I look upon things. The career progression of the commanding officer and subsequent down the line of other appointments, other officers, purely depend on the audit of the unit. Every army unit goes audit twice a year. It is purely done to assess basically two things. Number one, to see what is the administrative capability of a particular unit. And number two, to assess the degree of preparedness for the war, the operational capability. Now, if the unit is not well prepared for the war and unit is not preparing, that means the commanding officer is unfit. If the unit administratively is showing that it is well prepared and in terms of operational preparedness, it is well geared up, that is the time one says, yes, commanding officer too is a fit guy. This is how assessment should be done. Now, when it comes to assessment are of many types. It is done on the weekly basis, it is done on the quarterly, bi-monthly, half-yearly and annual basis. But the best assessment and the audit is done and it comes to hand both for the individual, for the team, as well as for the organization in the toughest times. I give you two examples. Number one, Op Parakram. Op Parakram was the time when the entire Indian army, after this attack on the parliament, was mobilized. We lost more people in induction and de-induction than the wars itself. That was the kind of the damage. In terms of loss of life, the wounds and the injuries sustained by officers and men. Heavy casualties. But this was the time when people voluntarily and willingly from various parts of the country and even from Nepal, they voluntarily joined back the organization to perform their duties. Those who were doing courses, it was stopped. Those who had gone on good postings to NDA and IMA as instructors, they also came back to the unit. The unit is going to the war and I can't be left behind. My unit is going, I will prefer to have this time rather than having some better posting. Now that is the kind of involvement, it has to be forthcoming. No audit required. But it was an automatic audit of the entire organization. This is how we stand strong as an organization, as a unit, as an organization. The entire army proved that we are strong. Now, on the contrary, when I see the Corona times, the Corona time was one time which was difficult, most difficult time I've seen in my life, not only for an individual, for one family or a community, society, but for the entire human breed, for the entire world. And during those times, I think job and some cash in the hand was a must to meet the basic necessities of family, for the loved ones. And overnight, people have been so insensitive that they just fired people. People lost their jobs overnight. I fail to understand how we are trying to function. We say brand, names, companies. No. Sirf naam bada hai, dil bahut chota hai. Tough times brings you together. But here I've seen people shattering. It is not only about losing a job. People went into depression. They lost job. They committed suicide. So many people were fired from the job. What these savings, what we say revenue generation, FDs and all these things, when these things are going to come into play? In army, you see the worst of the situation. If we have even one chapati, 4 people are there in tough condition, we make 4 portion and share amongst us. In jungles, in operation, this is how we survive. And here, biggest of the brands and the companies, they fired people like just replaceable items. Absolute disaster. I fail to understand. Aise time pe, this was the time to show the real thing. And somebody could have established as a brand. Imagine if somebody would have done it, what kind of workforce we would have created in days to come for you. People would have given life for you to get results for you. But unfortunately, barring one odd, I don't see many examples are there. High time. This is a proven fact. Nobody has taken back when you're leaving this world along with you. It's not only about money. I'm again and again harping on this point. People come first, profit comes later. Having said so, few and a couple of food for thoughts from this lesson. Number one, assessment karna achhi baat hai, but it should be realistic and high time that we shift our focus and bearing from individual assessment to team assessment. It will be more productive, number one. Number two, when we do team assessment, it will inculcate a sense of healthy competition and people will take more pride. And the sense of interdependency on each other will also enhance, which I guarantee is going to fetch you better results in the business world. Third, high time, wake up call, seniors should take accountability. If junior is not performing, I refuse to buy this idea that juniors are responsible. If you claim to be senior, you need to learn to take accountability. They should be held responsible for the weakness and for the failure. I take it this way, if somebody who is in a higher position has not done his job, he has not taken adequate interest, he has not been able to give a better example and train people who are under him. Demanding is easy. It creates more effort, to train someone and to get him to the desired level. Complaining is not a solution. Last but not the least, changing a person, an employee or the management is not the solution. Change the ethos, change the SOPs, change the working environment. Think about it. The last lesson in the talk is life versus lifestyle. When I interact with these professionals, I always tell them, I'm a young man of 40 years. But when they ask me, so what's your age? I always say I'm 21 years with 24 years of experience. But I always compare myself in terms of, in last 40 years, I don't remember a single time when I had reported sick. I take it as a poor discipline. But when I look at the youngsters in the working profession today, they have got a lot of health issues. I had maintained myself like this, and I had ensured in my command of 3.5 years, not even a single report case for the medicals. I had ensured that I create that kind of environment. I ensure a good routine for them so that people live healthy. You look at a retired JCO who had retired 20 years back. It might be, my father is one live example. He's 76. But in terms of health, in terms of his routine, in terms of conduct, I find today's working professional of 24 and 25 years, they are far below him. They need to pull up their socks and work hard. And the important onus responsibility lies with the commanders. As a commander, I had never shied away from my responsibility. I had taken mine. I expect and demand people who are in top positions, who are hearing this, they should come forward, think about it, and set a good example by themselves. If you're fit, your command will be fit. And it is as simple as that. Your command is your reflection. Your organization is your reflection. If you maintain a good, healthy lifestyle, please ensure that the last man, he also follows that thing. This is how you create a brand.
अगर आप इस टॉक के एंड तक पहुंच चुके हैं तो मैं आपको जोश टॉक्स का एक दूसरा रूप भी दिखाना चाहता हूं, जिससे मैं काफ़ी देर से जुड़ा हुआ हूं और मुझे बहुत बहुत ज़्यादा पसंद है कि वो क्या कर रहे हैं। जोश टॉक्स ने एक नया ऐप लॉन्च किया है जिसका नाम है जोश स्किल्स। अब वो नया नहीं रहा, काफ़ी टाइम से है, लाखों लोग उसको अब यूज़ करते हैं। और जोश स्किल्स पे आप अपनी ज़िंदगी के लिए कोर्सेज ढूंढ सकते हैं। वो कोर्स नहीं जो आपको फिजिक्स, केमिस्ट्री, कॉमर्स, बिजनेस स्टडीज पढ़ाएंगे, वो कोर्सेज जो आपकी जिंदगी में आपको कैसे जीना चाहिए वो सिखाएंगे। मैंने खुद जो स्किल्स पे बहुत सारे कोर्सेज बनाए हैं, पब्लिक स्पीकिंग पे, इमोशनल क्राइसिस कैसे हैंडल किया जाए, अपनी पर्सनालिटी कैसे डेवलप की जाए। हर एक कोर्स में डेली क्विजेज हैं, एक्सरसाइजेज हैं, एक बहुत ही खूबसूरत कम्युनिटी है जो आपको सपोर्ट करेगी, आपको इनकरेज करेगी। आज ही डाउनलोड करें जोश स्किल्स का ऐप और उनके कोर्सेज एक्सप्लोर करके अपनी जिंदगी को आगे बढ़ाएं।